Season 2 of Ranked Mode in Pokemon Pocket just came to an end, and I finally got Master Ball. But along the way, I learned a lot about how I feel about Ranked being in the game, and I want to talk about that in this video. I think it's important to talk about this because I realized I wasn't experiencing the game the way I was before Ranked came out. I think I was actually having more fun playing the game before Ranked came out, and I've done some thinking and written down some notes here, and I'm going to share the good things about Ranked in my opinion, and also some negatives, and then some advice for other casual players and collectors out there who maybe are experiencing the same thing. So let's start with the positives. What are the good things about Ranked Mode? First of all, I've noticed that games seem to be a little more respectful. People are more quick to play their cards. They're not AFK as often as they are in casual mode. You're not going to have people just shutting the app, forcing you to wait 80 seconds until it can be your turn again, and just kind of wasting your time. Most people who are playing Ranked want to rank up. They want to finish out their games. They're trying to win, so that way you're actually playing a very engaging game with your opponent. Another positive is that it's very challenging. You're playing against players that are of equal or higher caliber than you in the game. That's kind of the whole idea. You're climbing up this ladder, and along the way, you're playing with other players who are also at the same rank as you, so it's sort of like skill-based matchmaking. You're going to be playing against other players who are at a similar skill level to you. And to me, challenging games are good games. I really like winning against players who are good. It doesn't feel very good when you're playing against a child or someone who doesn't really understand the game yet, or bots. So that's definitely another positive. And lastly, the rewards that you get from Ranked are another positive here. If you rank up to Master Ball, at the most you'll get 100 pack points at the end of each season. So that's pretty good. That's, I think, 8 packs or so, a little over 8 packs if you calculate it out. So going into the next season, you'll have some free packs to open, and of course you'll get that emblem that everyone wants. That's the reason that I decided I wanted to go for Master Ball. I wanted to collect that Master Ball emblem. I think this might be the only one that I get though. So there are definitely positives to Ranked Mode, but I want to talk about what I believe are negatives, the drawbacks of Ranked Mode in the game. First of all, it's a grind, and I want to go into some of the numbers here because I realized I was playing the game definitely more than I used to in trying to achieve Master Ball, and I wanted to calculate out how long on average it should take you to get to Master Ball. And for the purposes of simplicity here, I'm going to talk only about going from Ultra Ball 1 rank to Master Ball. So those are the two highest tiers. You have Pokeball, Great Ball, Ultra Ball, Master Ball, and there are 4 ranks for each. So Ultra Ball 3, 4, and then Master Ball 1, 2, 3, 4. But we're going to assume you're going from Ultra Ball 1 all the way up to Master Ball 1. There is a 740 point difference. You're going from 710 points to 1450 points to get to Master Ball from Ultra Ball 1, so 740 points. So for each game that you play, if you win, you'll gain 10 points. If you lose, you'll lose 7 points. There's no win streak bonuses. You're just going at that pace all the way through. I've done some calculations, and at 50% win rate, if you're winning half of your games and losing the other half, each game will give you an average of 1.5 points. So you're climbing up 740 points at a pace of 1.5 points per game. This means that it'll take you 493 games to get to Master Ball from Ultra Ball 1, which is just a massive time commitment. And of course you might be saying, well, I have a 60% win rate, so it'll take me much less time, and that's definitely true. You'll be gaining 3.2 points per game at a 60% win rate, and it'll take you just 231 games, which is less than half the games to get to Master Ball. So it definitely pays for you to be winning more often. So you're definitely incentivized to win as often as possible. And that's clearly what's on everyone's mind when they're playing Ranked. Before I move on, where did you end up for win rate this season? I'm curious to know an average, and just be honest. Okay, I've been honest with you. I was around 50%, which sounds really bad. I'm a little bit embarrassed by that, but let me know your win rate percentage in the comments below. At 70%, which I would say is at the very top end of players, 70% win rate would be amazing. You're going to gain almost 5 points per game, and it'll take you just around 151 games to Master Ball. I just realized 151. That's pretty cool. Just to illustrate how much of a grind this is a little bit further, I went on to calculate a time commitment. I believe the average duration of a game is somewhere between 8 and 10 minutes, so I went with 8 just to be on the conservative side here. If your games take 8 minutes on average, it's going to take you 66 hours to get from Ultra Ball 1 to Master Ball 1 at a 50% win rate. At a 60% win rate, it's going to take you less than half that time. It's 31 hours, but still, that is a massive time commitment, assuming you're winning a pretty good percentage of the time. 60% win rate, I would say, is pretty average. If you have a really good deck and you stick with it, 31 hours, that's an hour a day, because each season of ranked is usually about a month long. Of course, the time goes down from there. 70% win rate, you're going to need 20 hours of gameplay, but that's still a pretty significant amount of time to go from Ultra Ball 1 to Master Ball. So the time commitment is pretty massive. So I think this brings out another drawback of ranked, the time commitment here and the things that are at stake. Everyone wants to win every single game, and so the higher up the ladder you climb, the less diversity you see in decks. Although this last season there was a pretty decent amount of diversity, but you're running into a lot of the same stuff, a lot of the top tier meta. And it makes sense. People want to win. They're sick of losing. It feels bad to rank down over time, and you just want to win every game that you play. And another drawback of ranked, I think, is it just feels like an obligation. I wanted to get the Master Ball emblem. I wanted to get there for at least one season, and it felt like I needed to play, and it makes sense. Looking at the calculation, like I needed to put a lot of hours into the game in order to reach that goal that I had set, but I really didn't have that kind of time, and it was way more of a time commitment than I wanted to. I ended up getting Master Ball on the final day of the season. I barely got there, and looking back, I probably spent close to 50 or 60 hours playing this game. When a game starts to feel like a chore, like you have to play and you don't actually feel like playing, that's not a good thing for me. I really don't think that I'll be going for Master Ball for that reason. I'm just gonna let my ranking slide down. I proved to myself that I can get there, and everyone can get there with enough time commitment and enough skill to at least win half of your games. But I'm just gonna try to play as much as I want to play in future seasons, and wherever my ranking ends up, that's where it's gonna be. So now I wanna give some advice if you're in the same boat as me and maybe you want to get to Master Ball. I have some advice that I think will be really helpful. First, when the new season comes out, play as much as possible in the first day or two. That's when everyone's going to be scrambling to figure out what kinds of decks are going to work. In this last season, I decided I wanted to get to Master Ball, and I was just committed to doing it. And it took me a very long time to realize that I just needed to play a pretty top tier meta deck consistently. That's why I ended up with a 50% win rate, because early on in the season, I was tinkering with new cards and playing new decks and just losing to things like Darkrai Giratina and the new Snorlax and Greninja decks, and I wasn't really paying attention to my win rate all that much until it was too late. Everyone figured out what the meta was, and I had to make up a lot of that ground later on. Just play a deck that is consistent for you, that has worked really well and gotten you a good win rate in the past, and you'll probably gain a lot of ground early on while everyone else is figuring out what decks to use. Along the way, you can pay attention to tournament results, even early tournaments. People are figuring out the new cards, and you can find a lot on limitlesstcg.com. I'll leave a link down in the description just so you can check it out. Look for tournaments where there are a lot of players and figure out what decks are top tier there and give them a try if they look like fun to you. Of course, with every new pack that comes out in Pocket, there's a new meta, and they've done a really good job of having new cards matter every single new pack. So there's always going to be a new deck that works better than the past season. And if you can be among the first to play those new decks, you might have an advantage early on. For example, this is the deck that got me across the finish line this past season. It does a really good job of countering the EX decks like Darkrai Giratina with those Oricorio cards that are unaffected by attacks from EX Pokemon, but it also has big damage from Magnezone. It generates its own energy with Magneton, and also self-healing with Shaman, so this deck is really solid. This would be a good deck to start with going into the next season if you're kind of struggling to find your footing. But I think most importantly here is timing. Early on in the season, again, people are just scrambling, trying new things, and if you decide to be consistent at that time, instead of following suit and trying to play the new cards and failing along the way, you're going to be able to gain a lot more ground early on in the season than later. And if you're successful, you get to Master Ball in the first week or so of the new season, then you can just relax and enjoy the rest of the season, play maybe some casual mode, play a few ranked games, but maintain your Master Ball rank until the following season comes around. I don't really know what advice I would give to the developers of this game to improve things. Maybe make it so that you can't rank down from Ultra Ball 4 to Ultra Ball 3. That way, once you reach a new level in the rankings, you can't skid backwards into a previous rank. That feels really bad. If you get to Master Ball, you should just be able to stay in Master Ball and continue playing and ranking up from there. Of course, my opinion doesn't really matter to the developers of Pokemon Pocket, but let me know what you think could be improved about ranked mode in Pokemon Pocket in the comments down below. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, if you love it, if you don't like it, where you ended up in this season. Leave me a comment down below. I'll be curious to read. Good luck in this next season, and I'll see you soon.